Hey folks, how you going? Today we're looking at another Libre Computer board. The last one, the sweet potato that I looked at, or the potato V2, was quite awesome. And you guys loved the video and I had lots of great feedback. So I thought we'd do another one. This time though, of course, step it up a little bit. That was one of their really low-end, cheap entry-level boards. Spent a little bit more money this time on the Libre Computer Alta, which is a bit higher up, a bit more powerful, a bit more capabilities. Now, part of the reason for that, obviously, the sweet potato didn't rank too well. If we actually have a look at the SBC tier list, it made it into B tier, and there's a few reasons for that. Some of them are neither here nor there, really. So firstly, the eMMC connector, which this one still has, is problematic, and we'll get into that. But I couldn't access some of the repos, and it looked like that might have been an IPv6 issue. I couldn't access it from most locations, but other people could. Today it's working fine, and I haven't changed DNS or my internet connection or anything. There was a few other little small shortfalls though, so we're not going to, hang around and think about those. We're going to jump straight into this and have a look at what we're getting. And in the end, we'll stick it on the SBC tier list. We'll see how it compares to others. We'll talk about what it's best for, and we'll get some opinions from you below. So without further ado, let's get into the Libre Computer Alta. So first and foremost, this is an Amlogic board again, not Rockchip like so many that we've worked with. It's an Amlogic A311D. Now, interestingly, that's showing a 905 there for some reason, but it is obviously a 311D, it's just the wrong picture. Now the 311D has quad-core ARM Cortex A73s at about 2 and a bit gigahertz and 2 Cortex A53s. So it's a little and big, but it's 4 and 2, and they're both lower powered. They're not A75s and A55s. It also has an ARM Mali G52 as opposed to a G51, so a little bit more powerful GPU. And it's got a 5 TOPS NPU. Now this is an RKNN, it's not Rockchip. This is the Amlogic NPU, which we've not actually played with. So I'd be very curious. The fact that it's got 4 tensor cores and 8 neuro cores along with a general purpose core is something I've not really experienced before. We're gonna have to have a little bit of a look at that. Now the video engine, of course, can do 4K 60 FPS. Decoding, it can encode 1080p 60 FPS. It's a UEFI board. Now this is something that's getting more and more common. So there's not really, a device tree like you would see with other headless designs like SBCs or embedded systems. It's more like a desktop PC where the UEFI BIOS discovers the hardware attached. It's something that's kind of like what ACPI used to be for x86, but it gives us a bit of flexibility with software, so we will talk about that too. Diving further into it, of course, it's your standard credit card form factor, which you can see here. It is like what we expect with a Raspberry Pi and similar, and actually the position of a lot of the connectors is very, very similar to a Raspberry Pi, which might give you some options with the cases. The rest of it, it's got USB Type-C for power in, which is quite excellent. So similar external I/O. It's got the same mounting center as the Raspberry Pi Model 3 B+, and a similar external I/O, except USB Type-C in place of micro USB. So if you've got any cases, you might be able to modify them slightly to fit. That could be all right. HDMI, 4K HDR support, gigabit Ethernet, multi-protocol IR is pretty sweet. Up to 20 amp dual roll data power port, micro SD card slot with SDR104. So that means it can go pretty fast. eMMC interface, USB ROM boot button and boot mode selection, along with a 40-pin Pi compatible color-coded GPIO. So this is the format that I typically refer to as Pi 2 compatible, and you'll see what I mean. Dedicated UART header is awesome. Upstreamed U-boot and Linux support, which is excellent. Good hardware life cycle, so they say. Got to wait a few years to find out. And some pretty decent power loads there. One of the interesting things though is that system wake support on IR. So if we jump back and have a look around the board here at what we've got. Now, we have got, if I can get my focus level right, it's going to be about there. USB Type-C power delivery, boot selection, reset switch, HDMI. We have, what is that, MIPI CSI there? So we've got a camera interface. We've got our audio connectors, of course, gigabit Ethernet, quad USB 3, Pi 2 header, UART pins. Oh, you can see a bit better there. UART pins, PoE support. We've got a heatsink already on the RAM and SoC, which is quite excellent. That is our IR header, along with another interface there, which I'm imagining might be maybe DSI. So we've got CSI and DSI for a camera and a display. Can't quite see though. We've got our SD card slot there and our eMMC module slot. There is all in all a pretty good design here. We've got some standoffs or some grommets, what do you call them there? I can't remember. So we could put a heatsink on here. A little bit odd that it's only on one side, but this also is a standard PoE header interface. So I imagine most PoE modules would be compatible with this, which is definitely interesting. Now this connector, I am a little bit confused by, but that's all right. It didn't mention it that I saw. If you saw it or you know, let me know. Now for this, I did get one of their eMMC modules. Now the reason is that they've done it a bit backwards, and I find this a tad infuriating. I bought the module with apparently a host-to-host cable, which that's a danger noodle. You shouldn't be using danger noodles. But if you look at this module, it is a little bit weird. Let me grab another one and I'll show you why. All right, so here is a standard eMMC module like what everyone else uses. They've got the little corner cut out so you can tell how to mount it. And underneath, you've got those connectors. Only one of them is actually connecting, the other one's for support. This is what I went to use last time because it's what every other SBC uses. But I found when I tried to connect it, they're both of the same socket direction. So these are actually both female, but they're also a different size. So you can see here, those are very, very different. The Libre Computer ones are male as opposed to being female, which means you have to buy their special eMMC. Now, Libre Computer, as much as you tout being open, this is some bullshit. This is garbage and a really bad design. And it's the main reason I'm not buying more and using more of your products. Why would you do something proprietary or non-standard when everything else you're trying to do is standard? This is ridiculous. I bought it once for your product to try it out. I'm open-minded, I try new things, but really this is just, it doesn't make sense to me. It blows my mind, but we'll stick to your proprietary rubbish this one time to see if the SBC is not rubbish. Now, I'm sorry for being harsh, but it just doesn't make sense, and I hope you can agree. I hope that's not the thing that holds this back. Now, on the software side, we actually have a few options. So I'm going to grab Debian and Armbian. And if you have a look, the Armbian is just the generic link. You don't need a specific Armbian because of UEFI. And that means we can get a 6.18 kernel, which is excellent. Also going to grab Debian 12 Bookworm, and we'll stick that on as well. So that's going to be the one with GNOME. So I'm going to flash Armbian first, and we'll boot it up and have a look at that. We'll test out some of the performance. There's no Wi-Fi on here, but I'll connect up HDMI and US and Gigabit Ethernet. We'll see if it does what's advertised. So the Armbian image is generic. We don't know what sort of graphical support we're going to get with that. And then we'll try their image, which should be built from the BSP or the SDK for this Amlogic board. We'll see what we get with that. I'll be back in a tick. All right, so this is even more annoying now. Guess how you flash the eMMC? You've got to boot to an OS and then DD the image from the OS you've just booted to the eMMC. So what I've done is I've stuck one on here, and we'll boot it up and try it out, and then we'll flash the eMMC through the Jancast method. You're losing points, buddies. And then we'll see how that goes. So that is in there now. I can't remember which one I even wrote to it. We'll grab our super sexy purple LAN cable, plug that in, get some HDMI into that side. We're probably going to want, oh, why is that so tight? Wow. That is a really tight HDMI port. I was worried about snapping that off then. Since we're plugging into USB 3.0, I'm going to put a little extension on the dongle there just to deal with, to skip that whole interference problem. And yeah, the keyboard and mouse over here. And what else do we need to plug in? We're going to need to plug in USB Type-C power. So I'm also going to get my awesome Finersi FNB, that was loud, FNB 58. And we'll be able to see what sort of power this draws as well. So wow, that is all, those plugs are both really tight. So that's good to go. I'm going to plug this in on the count of 3, and we'll watch the desktop, or the HDMI feed I should say, to see what's happening. 3, 2, 1. The lights are on. She's off to the races. 210 amps, 260 amps, 340 amps. I meant milliamps. Those are all milliamps. The network port is blinking a little bit. Red and green LED on the board are both solid. Nothing appearing on HDMI yet. Very interesting. 340, 200 to 300 milliamps, spiking up to 340 sometimes. Network port still just blinking a little bit. Gonna give it a moment. What's the boot switch set to actually? Oh no, there we go. All right, we've got a new Armbian logo. That's fresh and that is new to me. Cool. I mean, it looks a little bit more professional. Whoa, look at that 4K. There we go. We know that's 4K. So wired networking is clearly working. My wireless keyboard is not. I'm going to grab fresh batteries. One sec. Well, the batteries weren't flat. That keyboard just straight up doesn't work anymore. So I've just grabbed the one off my recording machine, and that one obviously does work. We want bash. I'm going to call myself owner because I own this machine. I actually paid for it. Thanks to all of you, really. Thanks to you watching this channel, liking it, thumbs upping it, all those sweet things that you should be doing. It is, of course, also thanks to PCBWay, who are continuing to be awesome champs, supporting this channel, allowing us to do cool stuff like this, running endless promotions for everyone to get involved with, from design contests to the link below, which will give you $5 off your first order, which is $5 if you're just prototyping. So get away with paying just shipping and support this channel and support, you know, this engagement with PCBWay that's been around a long time and is really helpful to everyone. By clicking that link, signing up for a free account. You don't even have to put payment details down, and go have a look, because they also do some really cool CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, all sorts of awesome stuff. And they're the best I've ever used. That's why I keep working with them. That's why I love using them. Good support, good products, good open source community, very supportive of SBC and embedded products and developers like us all. So thank you, PCBWay. Now, back to this thing. I should be booted up mostly and have created that account. That's all under here. Is it gonna give me some output? All right, one reboot later, because Elgato make cheap products and don't care about the Linux community. So everything's of course unstable, and doesn't seem like they're ever gonna care about the Linux community. We have realized that it wasn't the board's fault. So I'm gonna plug this back in now. Oh, if I can get some focus on that one, and we'll get back to the desktop, which is, here we go, what we should have been experiencing to start with. She's off to the races, and I'm going to go back to the HDMI input, and this should disappear. We've got to remember though, it's easy to accidentally break this Elgato thing. I honestly got it just because it was the only thing I could find that would do 4K capture without having a horribly compressed image. I've got so many capture cards here, but I should just reinstall the Blackmagic capture card. That's the one that actually works, and it works well. Blackmagic Deck Link. Never a problem. It didn't work with 2 SBCs out of about 100, and that is on the SBCs as far as I'm concerned, unfortunately. And I didn't end up reviewing one of them either. I gave them the opportunity to fix it before we get back to it. So now that has booted to a tiny login screen. I'm gonna log in here and see if I can set the target to graphical, because it should be graphical. All right, well, here's me not recording because I forgot to unpause. So what I did here was system, well, if you can read that, system CTL, I should say, set default graphical.target, and I rebooted. You can see that if you can read that, because system CTL get default graphical.target, but it's not booting into a GUI. So what we've got here is essentially an extracted Debian GNOME image. The one thing I thought I'd quickly check first is if we go apt search cinnamon, and we'll grab that for task, just in case there's a meta package that we can install that's going to actually get us into that desktop. So task cinnamon desktop. If we go sudo, oh, we're already root, don't need to do that, apt install task cinnamon desktop, because this is the Armbian cinnamon desktop image. Should give us a desktop. It looks like there might have been some things that the Armbian first boot installation was going to finish off for us, but due to Elgato crashing, thanks Elgato, hugely appreciated, we didn't actually get that far. So this tiny last step is probably what's required. We'll try it out before we jump across into GNOME. Let's see, fingers crossed. And I've got to remember my start and stop recording buttons may not work, so really need to be extra diligent on that. And I also did try changing the frame buffer size, but I don't know the command off the top of my head to get it to scale. I know how to set it to 1080, but then it just uses a tiny bit of the screen and not the whole screen. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. And then I've got to wonder what it's going to use. Will it be LightDM? I assume it's going to be LightDM, being Armbian. But we'll find out. We can have a look at what services are installed. I will just try a LightDM restart though. So system, CTL, restart, LightDM. Hey, what a guess. Someone's car alarm needs some attention. There we go. What are we getting? What are we getting? No signal. Desktop, yes, look at that. We've got Armbian and our Penguin. So it took a bit to get there. I don't know if there's the Armbian image, but you know, we're still trying to get an image onto the eMMC. That definitely takes the long route. Elgato driver slowed us down a little bit there. Yeah, you guys, you know I'm talking about you. So far so good though. Like it's booted straight out of the box with an image we slapped on the SD card. It's not drawing very much power, which is pretty awesome. It's booting fairly quickly once it's past the UEFI boot process. I wonder if we're going to get a desktop back though. This no signal's a little bit weird. It's still seemingly doing something. I just don't know what. If I switch to a TTY, do I get something there? F2, F3. Oh, yeah, all right. So we're on TTY4 there. What if we go back to F1? So F7 is going to be our default desktop. We have to jump modes here. No signal. That's hugely helpful. There should very certainly be a signal there. Let's do it. Let's go back to F1 and we'll just go reboot. This is the last time I'm going to try, because that really should work. Armbian image, we saw it get to the desktop actually. It was just after login. It could not hack it. So I've done Control Alt F1. I've typed and hit reboot. I don't know if it's actually taken that though. It's really hard to tell with these well, LEDs. They're both solid. I can't change camera right now, but I have to take my word for it. Okay, F4. Well, whilst, you know what, I'm just going to pull the power and plug it back in and we'll watch it boot up. This is getting harder than it should be, and I'm getting more short-tempered. And part of the reason for that is the documentation for this is also really lacking. Now, I thought this being one of their kind of higher end or better products, that it might be better documented, but I'll show you in a moment. Let me just get my key bindings going again. I have power cycled this, so we should get a display in a minute, and I'll just keep rambling in the meantime. And I'll pull up the documentation whilst we wait for that. So that's booting. Over here, you can see in the help section, we go to Libre Computer Hub, and there's just nothing for it. There's nothing for anything with an A311D, which is unfortunate because I want to try out the MPU. If we go to Getting Started Guide, which is generic, it really does not have much here. Nothing of use. So that is what it is. Back to HDMI, we've still got no signal. I don't know what this thing's, hey, all right, that took for fucking ever. Pardon my language. Now that we've installed a graphical desktop and we've got set default graphical dot target, still doesn't look like it wants to do it. Let's log back in. Oh, hang on. Well, no, that's the USB controller for my keyboard and mouse doing that. All right. What is going on? All right, got us in. System, CTL, restart, light DM. Why? It's having a hard time with USB as well. I don't know if that's because the network's connected or it's a power issue. I added the 10 centimeter or 15 centimeter extension because wireless receivers sometimes have issue with USB 3.0 because of interference. That should have ruled that out too. And I know that this is new. All right, here we go. So I've gotten to a desktop for sure. I'm gonna log in and hit enter then. Mouse cursor, black desktop. I haven't touched anything. No signal. So it's just not compatible for some reason. Now this is the generic Armbian UEFI image. We've got a 6.18 kernel, which should include a lot of the drivers that we want, but that's about it. So what I'm going to do here is let's just clear this. ls block. There we go. All right. So we want to ddif equals deb. Where this USB issue is ddif equals Debian of, is it? All right, I'm going to try plugging it in directly. This is insane. What is wrong with these USB ports? All right, that's plugged in directly. ddif equals Debian of equals dev eMMC block 0, and we'll say 100 meg block size. There we go. So that is flashing their Debian image, Debian 12 with GNOME, to the eMMC through their recommended process. After this, it should just work. That's about as good as it's going to get. The Armbian images, when they're a generic image, not a board-specific image, can be hit and miss. Now that one was very close to working, and I'm not going to discredit Armbian then. I don't know if you can see this desktop trying to draw itself. It might have finally gotten to a desktop, and we'll have a look in a moment once this is finished so we know it's finished. I'm not blaming Armbian. It could have been us interrupting that first time setup process, but we have set default and we have installed the Cinnamon desktop and we have tried twice now. So we'll let this bit quickly finish and then we'll go back to Control-Alt F7, so the 7th terminal, and see what that is that it's trying very, very hard to show us. There we go, that's flashed. Back to F7. What do you so desperately want to show us? No? That's it? F6. F8. Now, all right, guess what then? So what we're doing right now is we're just yanking the power out of that because I'm sick of this crap. I'm going to pull the SD card out. We're going to boot to their GNOME on that. Now, looking at this boot switch as well. Yeah, I don't understand. SPI eMMC. So I guess you can boot directly to eMMC, but booting to SPI is going to boot to UEFI. So the UEFI image will be on the SPI flash. That's what we're booting to. However, you can use a non-UEFI image, and then you'd flick this switch, and that would boot straight to the SD card where you're going to need U-boot and some of those very first stage kind of bootloaders. So now, vendor image, vendor board, vendor's recommended flashing mode. Let's go over and have a look at what's happening on HDMI. 380 milliamps. Come on, baby. Give us something. Give us anything. Make us hate you less. I love Libre Computer. I love what they're doing. I love their look and feel. I'm not loving the experience with either of the boards so far, but we're yet to put them on the tier list. We'll do that at the end. I just want to see, okay, so here's something. That's booting, of course. There's another LED there. So we've got like a heartbeat LED. If I turn that off, yeah, you can see that blue LED. So Armbian didn't have access to that blue LED. I think Armbian was using the network port LED as a bit of a status indicator, but don't fully know. Okay, excellent. I have nothing against this. Yes, we want English. Yes, English US keyboard is fine. No location services, thanks. I don't need to be doxed in any way. I'm in WA though. Most people have figured that out by this point. If you've bought anything from my shop, you'll know that because of the return address. My full name is Owner. You should know that by now. I type it enough, and my super secure password, which is basically just password 1234. So, boot it up straight to a graphical desktop. The resolution is looking good. We have a system LED on the board that's giving us a good idea of what's going on. So we're going to have some initial curiosities to check as well. If we go terminal, bit of lag here. It's eMMC 5.1, I think, the interface. So it should be nice and fast. We have 4 gig of RAM, only 1.2 gig used. There's swap pre-configured. That is quite excellent. Our SD card has expanded to take up the entire, or image has expanded to take up the entire SD card. That is very excellent. We've got a 6.1 Linux kernel. Not complaining about that. It's a bit aged. I'd love 6.18, but this is using the vendor's BSP or board support package. So it should hopefully have all of, yeah, look at that. We've got a whole pile of modules loaded, which is going to be what's needed for all of the hardware because Amlogic, you know, this is probably their audio interface supplier with it. What else we got? If we go cat proc CPU info, there's our 6 cores, and you can see we've got 2 different sets of core there. That's exactly what we expect to see, and I'm quite happy with all of that. There is no wireless, of course, so we're not going to test that out. What I'm going to have a look at is cat etc resolve.conf. All right, it's using the local stuff. That is excellent. etc, don't have to set time zone. We had first boot set up. Actually, that's quite good too. Not many vendor images have the first boot set up. The other thing is going to be the app's location. So they're using global mirrors, no Chinese mirrors, nothing like that. This is quite excellent so far. The last thing then is I want to have a look at what you might have going on as far as graphical driver support goes. So Firefox out the box is an interesting choice. Yeah, that's cool. So is there any like about GPU in? No, there's not. Firefox GPU diagnostics and Basemark WebGL. Yep, this is what I want to know. Come on, Reddit. Now that you and Google have teamed up, give me a correct answer, please. About support. Whoop, about support. There's a bit of graphical lag here. I'm not sure who to blame for that. So let's see what we've got. Whole pile of WebGL. We've got Panfrost driver. I can't talk at the moment. Panfrost driver for the G52 loaded. OpenGL ES 3.1 in MESA 22. It looks like we've got a lot of good hardware acceleration. It's picked up everything correctly. Yeah, sweet. Well, that's not good, but close enough. You might have some issues there, buddy. Let's see how we go with some Basemark. And you of course know that I'm going to run Geekbench on this to test it out. So far though, this definitely seems usable. What else does it come with installed? Does it even come with Chromium? It does. We'll have to test that out too. Let's give Basemark a quick minute though and see if it crashes or if it actually completes. Bit of a graphical glitch there, and it hasn't managed to load Chromium. This just, oh no, oh, it's getting there. She's struggling. I've got a feeling that this is software. Can we get a terminal back, please, too? I want some H-top. This video is probably getting a bit long. This is mostly going to be the nerds hanging around at this point. Could just use top, but H-top's prettier. It's got colors, and apparently people like colors. I think it's doing 4K, by the way. Is this 4K with 150%? Because that's what I'd like. Cool. H-top. No, it's not. All right, yeah, so that is CPU rendering for sure. Oh, Yeah, I think it must be. Easy way to tell. We'll just close Firefox. Yeah, yeah, that was CPU rendering. Let's try 4K like they talk. Oh, why? Why? All right, we don't get 4K with their image. Whatever. The last thing then will be Chromium. I swear I clicked it before, but I didn't want to do anything, so I'm going to run it in command line now in case it bombed out. We'll be able to see any seg faults here. Might still be running, hang around in the background too. We know the networking's working though. We know it booted from the eMMC. It's definitely got some graphical drivers there, but as far as actually using them, that's so far a little bit harder to tell. We might be able to go, there's no glmark sudo apt install glmark2 es. I forget what it was. We'll just try that. Might be es2-wayland. Sudo apt search glmark2. I know we don't have to do sudo there. It's just force of habit at this point. All right, there we go. glmark2 es2 wayland, because we know we're using, or should double check that we're using wayland here. Yeah, yep, I thought we would be. So we want that one. Back over here, it's sitting there doing nothing. Did it launch before? No. All right, so Chromium doesn't want to do anything right now. glmark2 es2 wayland. All right, so it's picked up the Panfrost driver, WebGL 3.1. It looks like it's running really well there. I'm not seeing any issues. That's going to be up in the thousands or 800s, getting there. So the driver's there. It's about the browser using it. Firefox was software rendering for some reason, and sudo apt update and sudo apt -y upgrade. So be it. See if there's a Chromium update. No, there's nothing there to use, and it does not want to do anything. So let's have a look at that then. Let's have a think about this then. Let's SBC tier list. You saw it before. Let's put this on there. I'll get my little notepad here, and we worked out last time a little bit more about how this is going to work, but features and specs. Form factor, really good. Good CPU, good RAM, eMMC can eat a bag of things I won't say, good GPU, no Wi-Fi, Ethernet works fine, compatible GPIOs, all excellent things. It's got an SD card slot, so nice and easy to access. No M2, though I do feel like a board of this size could really use some M2, especially with that SoC. No RTC battery, don't like that. Does have an NPU, but doesn't have any documentation on it. Can do 4K encoding. Does have MIPI, CSI, and possibly DSI, and does support standard PoE. So this is a bit of a tough one. Lack of RTC battery connectors definitely lost you something there. Everything else, though, is actually quite good. So as far as features and specs, I'm going to give you a 4 out of 5. That's not a bad start, folks. Documentation, ease of navigation, 0. Clear language, so-so. Mac, Windows, and Linux instructions, no. GitHub issues and PR. Well, let's have a quick look, because I didn't actually see if they have a GitHub. Let's go back to desktop, and it's my mouse. Unplug and replug. God, I love USB. It's no end of hell, is it? There we go. So over here, if we go back, we were looking for GitHub source code. It's all on their hub, supposedly. I'm just going to have a look there because that's not really giving me much. Check these two. See if they refer to Git. Yep, all right, GitHub for Corelec. They've got their own something going on here, whatever this. That's just a straight download link. Upstream stuff, they don't have anything for this SoC there. No, all right, so that explains that. There is no support. It's all right. So crap documentation, the language is fine, doesn't support many OSs, and there's no GitHub. You're gonna get 1 out of 5 stars for that, boys. That's no good. Software images, lots of variations. That's good. It's using a standard C library. Couldn't see the SDK. It's a downside for that. Update frequency, fairly good. You're relying on Armbian and third party a bit. Your own image still refers to Debian 11 a lot, and the Debian 12 image. You know, Debian 13 has been out for a while now as well, and it's the 6.1 kernel. So, look, I'd say good variations, but not kept up to date. No SDK available. And you know, it's obviously not kept up to date because the repos, the apt-get update didn't work properly. So I'm going to give you, for the variations, an Armbian support, kinda. No, it's got to be a 2 out of 5 because even Armbian didn't work properly. You could help them out a little bit. I don't think it was due to us pulling the power because we did try to fix that. Now, as far as general use goes, so it seemed perfectly fine. Flashing the eMMC was nice and quick. The GPU obviously has all the drivers working. We did have some issues with it crashing in Armbian and also with the USB support. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 for that. A lot of that is going to come down to the software image, which I reckon they could fix, especially if they just rebuilt it with the latest SDK release. Accessories and power. So USB Type-C power is excellent. PoE support's excellent. Camera support is excellent. You've got 2 different storage options, which is excellent. UEFI means you can also net boot. Supports up to 4K output and the display obviously works. Standard GPOs means you're going to be able to use whatever hats you want, and being a similar form factor to the Pi 3 means you can use any cases. For accessories and compatibility, I'm going to give you a 5 out of 5. That's a redeeming factor. So this actually gives us 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 out of a potential 25. So as I said last time, 15 out of 25 will get you. Thought my brain was doing something wrong, then I missed one. I was like, why is there only 25? This should be out of 30. I couldn't, yeah, sorry about that. Price and availability. So we didn't look at that at all. Let's jump over to the desktop and actually see what's going on there. Where can we get this and how much does it cost? I can't believe I completely missed that. So, purchase, please. Please? I don't care if they're not in Australia. I just want to buy it. Where did I even buy it from before? Libre Computer Alta. Where can I buy this? Amazon, I guess. That's the Frite? Renegade? It looks like it's going to be on Amazon. Is there, like, you should make it easier to buy your products. If you're making products to sell, then make them easy to buy. Purchase down. That's insane. All right. Amazon. Can I even get the Libre Computer Alta? I ordered that. Is that it? So is it just not available anymore? That's, wow. All right, so price and availability, for whatever reason, they don't let you buy it. I obviously got it from somewhere because I bought it recently. I'm going to give you a 1 out of 5 for that too. So that gets you a 16 out of 30. That's where I'm going to have to think about a little bit. 16 out of 30 really just knocks it up into the next tier. So 5 and lower is an F, is a fail. That's not worth it. 10 and lower is a D tier, or 10 and below is D tier. 15 and below is C tier. 20 and below is a B tier. So this is actually our first board that makes it to a C tier. We have not had one that's scored 16 before. That's insane. So there's a lot of things wrong. I didn't even get onto the wrong connector for the eMMC. But if we go from the top down, the Armbian image didn't work properly. It's a generic image though, so it's to be expected. The Debian image has broken repos, and even though the graphics drivers are there, it doesn't work in Firefox. Chromium doesn't even boot, and of course I can't update it, but it did have that first boot, of course, and they've fixed the downloads now. The eMMC connector is bad, it's wrong, it's proprietary essentially. Get rid of that. What else have we got? We have got no documentation, including how to use the NPUs, let alone anything else for this. We can't find anywhere to buy it, which is kind of mental, and it's out of date, hasn't been updated or maintained. I would think that I was actually excited about this. I thought this was going to be better than it was, but we have our first C tier with a score, barely getting into C tier, of 16. Nope. I did that wrong. It should be in B tier, but I'm not. I'm going to knock that documentation score from a 2 down to a 1. This gets 15 out of 30. The documentation had clear English, but there's like 10 words, so it really doesn't count. There's basically no documentation. There is no documentation for this board. They have generic documentation, including bad instructions for flashing the eMMC because it's non-standard. This will be our first C tier. It is what it is, folks. Libre Computer, get your game together. Come on, both boards have been really bad, but I've heard such good things. I don't want to spend money on another even more expensive board just to end up in the same results. I'm going to give Libre Computer a break for a while. We're going to come back onto some other special projects next time instead. So for now, I want to continue to thank my patrons. If you haven't signed up, go and sign up even for free and support it. We're building more of a community here and all starting to help each other out. There's general chit chat. You get name recognition, like you can pay as well, of course, and you get even more. So thank you to all of them, including my latest subscriber who will be shown in the credits at the end. Thank you to PCBWay, of course, just close the tab, for continuing to sponsor all of my crazy ideas and horrid board reviews like this with numerous mistakes. Thank you to you guys for continuing to watch and liking and subscribing and supporting me below. I am going to write this, I'm just going to stick it up here actually. There we go, with a magnet. So it's always there, ready for me to access. That is going to be necessary going forward so I can keep some consistency. If you see any inconsistent results on the tier list, let me know. I might review the board again, I might not. There's plenty of boards I want to get back to and put on the tier list as well. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helps you make an informed decision about this board. It's definitely a really good SoC. It's definitely a really good form factor. Documentation, software, and that one eMMC issue. I think there is a lot of capability here. I'm just very disappointed this time. Enjoy your weekend ahead. I'll catch you all next time round.